Hello and welcome to the Literary Lair. As today is President's Day, I feel like I should make a video to commemorate the occasion. And I will. I'm going to look at my top 10 favorite presidents. But, since I try not to take a political stance on this show, it'll be my top 10 favorite fictional presidents, from television and movies and the like. So without further ado, hail to the chief. Number 10. The Doctor from Doctor Who. The rest of these are going to be US presidents, but the Doctor was technically the president. Lord President of Gallifrey. The fourth Doctor took on the role of the president in The Invasion of Time, later to leave and reclaim it in The Five Doctors during his fifth incarnation, and then left again. So he wasn't a really good president, but he's going to be on the list anyway. It's also stated that Romana eventually became president of Gallifrey, so that's good. And the Doctor was also the president of Earth in Death in Heaven from Series 8. And a lot of people died or got turned into Cybermen, but he wasn't the worst president that Earth has ever had. Number 9. President Wallace from The Inner Circle and The Fifth Assassin. This guy should not be on the list of my favorite presidents, because he's a pretty crappy guy, based on what he did in the books. I'm eventually going to get around to doing a full review of those books, but basically President Wallace is part of so many conspiracies, it would make your head spin. But hey, this series is great, and it wouldn't be as good without President Wallace. It's full of conspiracies and crazy events and backstory, and President Wallace is a huge part of it. So he might not have been the best person morally, but he certainly had an exciting and dangerous life that was fun to read about. Also, he's from a book, so it's my excuse for being able to do this list. President Devlin from Spy Kids. I grew up on Spy Kids, and while I didn't like the latest outing they had, I loved the first 3 movies, and even saw the third one in theaters with the 3D. And a small part of those films had President Devlin, played by George Clooney. He was the president who gave the orders to the agents of the OSS, because in the first movie, he was the head of the OSS, and later became president, which I thought was pretty cool. And in the third movie, he was replaced by Sylvester Stallone for a few seconds, and that was awesome. Number 7. President Bartlett from The West Wing. This one should go without saying. For one thing, it's Martin Sheen. How can I not put him on this list? I admit, I've only seen 2 episodes of The West Wing, but I couldn't make this list without President Bartlett. That would be like making a top 6 Pokemon video without featuring Mewtwo. The West Wing was a pretty popular show, and I've only seen 2 episodes since the show's a little boring for me. I'm not really into politics. But Martin Sheen as president is something I can totally get behind. Number 6. President Camacho from Idiocracy. I watched Idiocracy for one reason. It involves a guy being frozen and waking up in the future, and that's one of my favorite sci-fi cliches, probably because I am of a generation that grew up with Futurama. And Idiocracy is a pretty funny movie, if only because of its scarily accurate prediction of reality television. And President Camacho, played by Terry Crews, is easily one of the best characters in the entire film, seeing as how he is surprisingly one of the most competent members of the future human race. Not the smartest, but the most competent. He did appoint Luke Wilson's character to vice president, so he did something right. Number 5. President Leslie Nielsen from Scary Movie 3 and Scary Movie 4. The Scary Movie franchise has always been a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. I used to watch the movies when they'd run on Comedy Central, and the first 4 were pretty funny. And especially when they got one of the funniest comedic actors, Leslie Nielsen, for the 3rd and 4th installments. And his attempt to stop the aliens from attacking, when there were no aliens currently attacking where he was the best scene in the entirety of the 3rd movie. For a series that is entirely spoofs and satire, the movie has its moments of absolute hilarity, and getting Leslie Nielsen was an inspired choice for scenes that are juvenile but also quite funny. Number 4, President Insano from the Spoonie Experiment. I know what you're thinking. Dr. Insano isn't fictional. He's as real as you or me. Well, he is fictional. Hyper-time or something, I don't know. But whatever, Dr. Insano is hilarious, and his speech after his announcement of his win was the best.
I even used my real name! You voted for a guy named Dr. Insano!
You know, seeing him do all that stuff makes me wish I knew someone like Insano. Hey, are you done with this week's video yet? I want to do an experiment, but I need an extra set of hands. Not yet, I'll be with you when I'm done. Gotcha, I'll be upstairs. Really wish I knew someone like Insano. President Richard Nixon from Futurama. President Richard Milhouse Nixon, the 37th President of the United States of America, was infamous, because he did pretty bad stuff. But he's a pretty funny Futurama character. Not taking into account the impossibility of Nixon's head being around to be put in a jar, seeing as how he's been dead for a while before heads in jars were a thing, he's easily one of the best recurring characters on the show. His logic for why he could run despite having served his full amount of terms when he wasn't a head is hilarious. Because no body can run more than once, and he had a new body.
There is logic in what he says.
Plus, Billy West's portrayal of him is actually pretty spot on for what video footage I've seen of the actual Nixon. Number 2, President Alan Alda from Canadian Bacon. I really like Alan Alda. Like, probably too much. I like him so much that I have a folder on my computer dedicated to just screenshots from Canadian Bacon, Glass House, and MASH. But this president is awesome. He's the only president not to get America into a war and wants to focus on the future of our children, and everyone hates him for it. Just goes to show you that as president, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And the movie is hilarious, despite it having poor reviews. And its hilarity comes mostly from Alan Alda and John Candy's characters. But if you want a laugh that builds on Canadian stereotypes, go check out Canadian Bacon. Number 1, President Whitmore from Independence Day. As much as I love Alan Alda, I gotta go with President Bill Pullman, because whenever I think of a fictional president, he's the first one that pops into my head. Independence Day is a great movie, and President Whitmore is fantastic. Especially his speech, which to me was the greatest from any film up until Stacker Pentecost's speech from Pacific Rim.
We're going to survive! Today, we celebrate our Independence Day!
And that speech is why President Whitmore is my number 1 favorite fictional president. And that was the list. Did your favorite fictional president make the cut? Tell me who you think should have made the list. Happy President's Day to those in America, and happy Monday to those who aren't in America. That's all the time we have for today, so if you'd like this video and haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to give me suggestions for other videos, put something in the comments below. See you next time.
Washington came first and he was perfect. John Adams kept us out of war with France. Jefferson made Louisiana purchase. In 1812 James Madison kicked the British in the pants. James Monroe told Europe they could suck it. John Quincy Adams looked just like his dad. Andrew Jackson got rid of all the Indians. Van Buren served 1 term but he wasn't bad. William Henry Harrison died early. John Tyler annexed Texas from Mexico. James K. Polk fought Mexico to keep it. Taylor was a Mexican war hero. Fillmore gave a boat to Commodore Perry. Pierce repealed the Missouri Compromise. Buchanan saw the Civil War's beginnings. Lincoln saved the Union, then he died.